everybody, and welcome back to the Power of a Processor podcast. My name is Gina Wariebi, owner and operator of Innovative Edge Processing and the Mortgage Processing Revolution. Today, I'm speaking with Tyler Hancock, owner of Hancock Processing. Tyler, welcome.
Thank you. I
How you
appreciate
doing?
it. Got me in here on a Saturday. I love it.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your company, and how did you get into processing? Why did you become a processor? Because we're not just jumping out of high school and saying, "Hey, I want to be a mortgage processor."
Literally the day after high school, that's all I wanted to do. No, I was more of a wrestler in college. So when I got into processing, I was actually working at a mortgage company as a loan officer because I was a loan officer for almost 6 years. Kind of got a little sick of like wondering where my next loan is coming from. That was always on the back of my back of my head. But so I was at a company, we were doing streamlines and rolls at the time. I didn't really understand too much about them, but I knew that they were something good for everyone. And so I got more into it and more into it. About 6 months after, I'm like, all right, cool. I understand these very well. And then that company had started to switch over to another company. So we were not only moving offices, but names, changing everything.
Okay.
We had then all of our processors at the company, there's about 4 of them at the time, had went to another company. So we were about 12 loan officers with no processors at all. And we had about 60 loans left over at that company before we could actually make the final switch. And they said,
How
who
long
wants to
ago
give
was
it a
this?
try? Oh, this was 2017, 2016, probably.
Okay.
Yeah,
So a while. Okay.
2016.
Okay.
So I was like, I'll give it a try. I'll try it out. And so I started calling title companies, calling the underwriters, they're calling account executives. Scott Welty, EWM was a huge help because I had no idea what I was doing. So he would kind of walk me through stuff.
Okay.
And then from there, I found out I actually liked processing. And then after a little bit, I ended up being a loan officer again, trying to go back to that. Once all those loans did close out, I was a loan officer again.
Okay.
But then I went to Handshake Home Loans in October of 2018. And we were a 4-man group that processed our own loans as loan officers. And then I started realizing that we had about 15, 20 loans in the pipeline that had been approved for 4 or 5 days and nobody touched them yet, because everybody wanted to be front end focused. So
Yeah.
there's obviously a lot more story behind that, but I ended up being the processor for the company.
Okay.
And again, started calling title companies and everybody asking for help. What do I do here? What do I do there? I got a lot of help from Sue on our team, who was actually the other processor at the first company I was processing at before we
Okay.
switched over. So she helped a lot. But yeah, from there, closed 6 loans, then 8, and then 12, and then 35, and then 40, and then it kept going up. And we were still in the streamline and roll season. So got up to 60 and then 80, and then I hired an assistant.
Wow.
And the highest I did was 117 in a month, but
Wow. Good for
found out
you.
I loved processing. And so I was processing there for 5 years before opening my own company.
What made you go ahead and decide to open up another company, your own company?
Well, when the rates went up, I saw a lot of processors getting laid off. And at that time, processors still, I don't think they were getting paid what they're worth, to be honest with you.
Do we now?
I mean, I pay my team what they're worth. I think I paid them very well. I ain't rich yet. So I give all the money to them. But
Good for you.
so when the rates started going up, a lot more purchases came in. And as you know, streamline and roll season, we're a refi shop. We had
Yep.
over 200 loans closing about, every single month at that last company. So we were all refi, and then we went purchase, and then all of a sudden, within 8 months later, we dropped from 14 processors down to 2.
Wow, that's a big drop.
Yeah. So the owner of the company, he showed me, and he said, "You know what? I don't want you to lose your income, Tyler. I'll show you how to open your own processing company." So
Oh, wow.
he ended up
Okay.
showing me how to open the company. He ended up helping me get licensed in all the states that we have to this day. And they eventually ended up closing down shop because it was all refi. But what he did as a great guy, his name is Joey, he taught all the loan officers that stayed behind that knew that they could be good and they have great potential. He taught them how to open their own mortgage company. So all those loan
Wow.
officers that opened their own mortgage broker shop, and he taught me how to open a processing company. So now we process for those loan officers that I used to work with. In addition
about paying
to
it forward.
this. Yeah, great guy.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
yeah.
All right, perfect. Well, that's going to lead us right into our topic today of sales and marketing. I am really good at sales. I could sell anybody a bowling ball, hearing aid. And I just don't like going out and really pushing for myself and marketing. I do a lot of referral only base here since I've been in business. And I struggle with going out and getting the more business and the marketing and the networking and all of that stuff. So that's why I'd like to talk to you today about that. What do you do on your side? How do you drum up business? How do you talk to new potential LOs? That kind of stuff.
Well, that's why I have you saved in my phone as a processing goddess, not the sales goddess. So,
Yeah. Thank
you're
you.
welcome. Well, I tell my entire team every day, and they probably get sick of it, but I tell them processing, especially contract processing, is a sales job. You're basically salespeople that just have to process loans. And the reason for that is because when you're an in-house processor, and this is no shame on them, I loved being an in-house processor. But when
Mhm.
you're an in-house processor, the loan officer has to send loans to you, no matter what. They send their
That's
loans in, they
true.
send it to processing, and then from there, the in-house processors take over. But on contract processing, a loan officer has the choice of you and thousands of other processors to send their loans to.
Yep.
So every day that you have that loan from them is a sales. You're not selling and saying, hey, $2.99, $4.99, $6.99. You're literally showing them the moment they email you,
Yep.
you're responding in 10 to 15 minutes at the latest, and showing them, I'm going to take action on your loan. I'm going to go until your loan is funded. The audit is done at the end. Your clients are going to love me. And I'm going to make you confident to where you can go out and get more business. I don't want you to worry about the processing piece because that's me. I want you front end and I'll be back end. So that's what I tell my team all the time. That is the sales aspect of it.
Mhm.
For the sales aspect of the company itself, I honestly don't. I I do think it's sales 100%, but I honestly think that I just talk to people, and that's literally all I do all day long. And not only am I processing my own loans every month, as helping out loan officers that I work with personally, but I'm on the phone with mortgage brokers, mortgage lenders, and loan officers, bringing them in every day. Right now,
Okay.
we're bringing in an average of 52 loan officers a month. But every
Wow.
single one of those loan officers we sign up, and every single one of those mortgage brokers that we sign up, I talk to about 75-80% of them. The ones that I don't talk to, my team is out there bringing them in because I
Bringing them
pay them
in.
more money to bring in self-source business. So it is all sales. In my opinion, contract processing is 100% sales that just happen to process loans.
So let me stop you there for 1 second and ask you this. Most I don't want to say that. A lot of processors who are contract processors are on the back end because they don't want to be the face of that. They don't want to be out there.
Yeah.
Um, so what would you do? What would you say to them? Because from what you're saying is you get a bulk of your business just by talking, just being an outgoing, friendly type of person, talking to everybody you see, going to conferences and that kind of stuff, and just talking, not necessarily out there promoting your company and pushing your company on people. You're just having a conversation with them. What do you
Yeah.
say to those people who like to be behind the scenes and don't want to go out and don't want to be seen? They just want their work to speak for
Come to
them.
them. Yeah, honestly, their work does speak for them. They're
Okay.
the face of their own business. Even though they might work with Hancock Processing or work with any other processing company out there, they're
Yep.
still the face of their business because that loan officer is going to choose them again. That loan officer is not going to say, "Oh, I'm choosing this person because they work for Hancock Processing."
Yeah.
They're saying, "I'm choosing this person because they did a hell of a job on my loan. They did very well." So they don't have to be out there front end focused, getting, the processor doesn't have to be out there front end focus, bringing in those loan officers. When someone joins our company, the moment they join, they go through an onboard training for a day or two. And then from there, we introduce them to loan officers right away. And from there,
Okay.
it's on them to reply and say, hey, my name's Tyler Hancock. I have, 11, 12 years experience in the mortgage industry. I've closed X amount of thousands of loans.
Yep.
You can send your loans to me and have confidence I will close them. And they do an intro like that every time when they meet a new loan officer.
Okay.
When the loan officer sends them that first loan, they're the face of their own business from there. They're the ones that are impressing the loan officer going forward. So they don't need to be out there selling loans. They could literally be at their desk all day long, getting introduced to loan officers, but then earning that business going forward.
Because you've already gone out there and brought that business into the company, and then it's their responsibility to keep the business flowing. Like you assign a file to them and then they have to keep that loan
Yeah.
officer theirs. And if they
Yeah,
don't do a
exactly.
good job, they could potentially go to another person in your company or a whole new company altogether. They're
Yep.
not forced to stay with that one company. So what do you say for somebody like me who is a sole owner? I have nobody else that I work with. There's no other processors here. You either like me or you don't. What would you
Yeah.
say to me to go out and help with the sales portion, to help with that?
I mean, you've already mastered it. I mean, look at you. You're
No,
the head person
no,
of AIM processing. You
no.
are going to be at Fuse talking for the women of the workforce in mortgages. And I'm coming to you for help all the time. I literally text you and I say, hey, I need your help. But you're your own person. You have your own company and you work from home and you're closing over
No, I
50 loans a
don't.
month
I
as
work
your
from an
own.
office.
We work from an office.
I
Well,
do
I
have
see
an
the
office.
beautiful background there. But I'm telling you right now, you didn't need to do the sales aspect of it. You doing the great work on its own has what brought you to where you're at right now. So you don't need to be out there door to door sales. You doing the work the way that you do has made a name for itself.
And while I'll take all that, thank you so much. I wasn't like that for the entire time that I've been doing this. 10 years ago, there was no such thing as contract processing. And I did have to go out there and get myself known. And that's where I did open up and become more talkative about what processors do. And that's where my passion came out. So disregard me in that sense and talk to a person who just started their own processing company. It's just them. How would you go about recommending them to sell their business, their
I mean,
process?
what I did is I went old school with it. I went
Mhm.
and I created flyers on Fiverr. You know, people on there will create a flyer for you for 15, $20.
Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
went to the UPS store down the street and had them printed out 500 flyers.
Old
And I
school.
walked into the mortgage companies and realtors' offices and I knocked on the door and I said,
Yeah.
hey, we're Hancock Processing. Berta was with me. Berta's been running the company with me since we opened and literally went over there and handed out flyers in person, door to door, just like when I was a loan officer. I was that dumb loan officer that went door to door and handing out candy canes on Christmas saying, hey, send your loans to me, literally door to door
Yep.
knocking with candy canes and, Christmas cards. So we did the same thing in the very beginning. I started calling all the loan officers from my last company. Skylar McCurdy owns Arrow Mortgage. He's, been working with him for 7 years, but then he started referring me.
Okay.
There's loan officers that I work with that refer us to other people all the time. And not only did that word of mouth help, but in the beginning, we literally went door to door on mortgage companies and just walked in and said, hey, we're with Hancock Processing, brand new contract processing company. Send your files to us. I even had a couple in the beginning where I'm like, look, I will do your first 3 loans. If you don't like it, I'll send you all the money back. I'll pay you back for all,
Wow.
I'll send your clients all the money back for what I did.
It's like a
But if you don't like
guarantee.
it, yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
So, and it's just the mindset that I have to have. My mom's owned a company or a restaurant since I was
Mhm.
in 4th grade, but she started out door to door selling burritos at doctor's offices before she could open up a little tiny $300 a month house, to sell
Yep.
her food in.
Yep.
But it's the same thing. We went door to door and dropped everything off. And I'm shy as
Hustle.
hell. I might not seem shy, but when we had to do a little business conference thing here with all the business owners in my small town of Camp Verde, there was like 30 people, but I was shaking and I was scared out of my mind. But you still got to
Mhm.
do it if you want to do it. If you want to pursue it, you have to just go out there and do it. And there's a
Yeah.
slogan I've used a long time. It's just do better. And that's on all the back of all of our Hancock Crossing shirts. And when someone says, hey, Tyler, I need help, I tell them we'll do better. And then I help them. But I always kind of put that
Yeah.
in there. So
I
if
know
you
it
want
might
to
be
get
hard to
better, you just got to
believe,
do
but
better.
I agree with you. I seem like a very outgoing person, but I'm just like you, shaking in the background. These videos, I get so nervous, and it's about being yourself, but you also have to put yourself out there a little bit more. It's okay to be uncomfortable, and you really should be
Yeah.
uncomfortable if it's what you want. You should be nervous. You
Yeah.
should
Oh,
that
I
because that
was.
means you
Yeah.
want it more.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
that morning that I went to the breakfast downstairs of that, and finally met you guys when we went to UWM
Yeah.
on the processing committee, I was so scared. I'm like, oh my God, these are actual good processors that I'm going to meet. I've been winging it this whole time, and I'm going to meet actual ones that know what they're doing. I was nervous as heck. So, but
Yeah.
you still got to do it, even though you're scared.
And you
No
have to
matter
have
what.
faith in yourself. You have to have confidence in yourself. And you have to make sure that you know you're doing your thing. It's going to be different than someone else.
Yeah.
You don't want to copy someone else. You need to be your own individual. And I think that comes out in the sales aspect of this job.
Yeah.
Definitely. You don't want someone to come and be a mimic of you. You want to have someone who has their own personality and can speak to somebody, because you and I might not get along, but me and Berta, we might get along. So we need to find what fits for us
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah. And that actually brings up a really good point, because there's some processors that are really, really good and loan officers that are really, really good, but they just can't work together.
Correct.
But some of them can. And that's why I always tell my team, if you don't feel comfortable working with that loan officer, we will find you another one. Or that loan officer, if you don't feel comfortable working with that processor, we will find you another one, because you have to have that perfect click.
Correct.
So,
But also
yeah.
the same thing goes with you can have a really, really good processor who knows their stuff inside and out, and you never speak to them because they're not an outgoing person. They're not going to go out there and sell themselves. They don't at all. They don't market, they don't network, because they're very self-conscious, but they're really good at what they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where we need to help and teach those processors how to get out there a little bit more and sell their own company and sell themselves, and make sure that they get their portion of the pie too.
Yeah. Honestly, if they weren't processing, closing so many loans, I'd love to take all of them with me to Fuse. But got some really good people on our team. But I mean, they're busy, they're making money, they're feeding their families. So yeah.
Absolutely. That's what we all got to do, right?
Yeah.
So let's slide into the next subject I want to talk about: how to be a little bit more proactive to make your life easier. I love that. Talk to me a little bit about that.
So the reason that our slogan is Hancock Processing, Proactive Processing, is because if you're not proactive, if you're just throwing the minimum items in to get an approval by underwriting, you're going to come out with maybe 20 conditions.
Okay.
Perfect example. I had a loan just the other day that had 13 REOs. That means the
Oh my
client owned
Lord.
13 other homes, aside from the new one that they're purchasing. But being proactive, I made sure I had the property profile report on every home, the HOA statement or a letter of explanation stating the HOA on every home. I had the homeowner's insurance declaration page on every home. I had not only their current mortgage statement on every single home, but I'm like, you know what? Credit supplement might take 2 to 3 days to get back for 13 homes. Send me your mortgage statement showing next due for September to show that August got paid. So I made sure that I had the last 2 months of both mortgage statements to show the payment history, because we all know that a credit report is 30 to 60 days behind. So
And can be
being
more.
proactive, exactly.
Yeah.
Being proactive like that helped me get clear to close on that loan from literally submission through clear to close in 4 days.
Oh my Lord,
And
yes.
13 REOs. So you got to be proactive and think, what else is the underwriter going to need? And that doesn't necessarily mean send the inquiry letter to be signed by the client, send the address letter to be signed by the client, but make sure the client's aware these are the items that may come up. I'm going to prep, the letter of explanation with you. So when the approval comes out, I will send these to you to sign electronically, and we'll get the rest of these documents in so we can send it right back to underwriting the same exact day or the next day and close your loan quickly. Just being proactive and setting the stage.
So I'm also listening to you say that, and it also sounds like a little bit of sales going on in there. You are selling the loan, basically. Even though you're not selling the program, you're helping the borrower to understand the process. And that goes along with the whole selling your job, selling what your position is in talking to the client and saying, okay, this is what we need. That does go hand in hand, similar.
Yeah, no, it really does. I mean, even our very first training guide, when someone comes in, we have our own internal system that has all these resources, right? Lender guides, broker guides, but then we also have processing guides. But the very first document in there says Hancock hates turn times. Literally, that's what it is. I hate turn times. I think if you get a loan submitted, you should have it clear to close in 2 weeks or less, unless you're waiting on an appraisal. But when I send a loan to a lender and the underwriter or their turn time says, oh, 5-day turn time, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, cool, I understand limited staff, probably, whatever's going on. But I hate the term turn times, or that's our policy, or I'm off the clock, I can't answer that question. Those type of things I can't stand, So I have it in there. It says I hate turn times. So I put in there, if you are not getting clear to close on your loan in 2 weeks or less from submitting, please contact management. It doesn't happen all the time, but I tell them, please contact us, because we don't tell our loan officers our turn time is X. We tell them, you send the loan over, I'm going to work it right away. And if you don't, they're going to choose someone else, just like the sales aspect. If you don't work it right away, they're going to find somebody else to work it right away.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And you're only as good as your, I guess we can say, sales, because if you're speaking to the borrower and their borrower doesn't send you documents over, that affects their turn time. I mean, if it takes them a week, if it takes a week for them to send you the documents you need, then you're already a week behind.
Yeah. Yeah. No, seriously. And that's why you always got to prep them up front. Your loan's been submitted to underwriting. I reviewed it. This is what it looks like we're going to need. If you want to start sending these over, great. But I want to send you only one list once it's approved. And that way it's just one list, get it all back in, and then we can close. So
the more upfront work we do, the better off your financing is going to flow.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we're texting with clients, at night. I had a client text me at 7:30 p.m. last night, 8 p.m., whichever. As long as you're putting in the work ethic, you don't need to know 1,000 things. I tell people all the time, I don't know every single guideline. I don't know as much as I probably should know, but I'll outwork every single one of you to make sure that loan closes on time. So
I definitely hear that. Definitely. All right, now let's back up into the marketing aspect of what you do. I have actually never paid to market because in the very beginning, like I said, there was no companies out here like this. So I literally had to go door to door and email. And I happened to meet someone at UWM and just started talking to them, and I got a couple of referrals from them. So that's actually how I started. But there are thousands of us nowadays. How or what do you think the best aspect of marketing for a newbie processing company versus a bigger company like yourself? Where would you put your time and effort into marketing, and how would you do that?
So funny thing is, since we've been open since November of 22, I've only spent $3,000 in marketing. And that 3,000, like 2,500 of it is on t-shirts that we've given out. So literally on that marketing material for the flyers that we had and the business cards, literally the only amount of money I've spent on marketing. Everything has just been word of mouth and doing a great job for our clients, and our clients being loan officers, brokers, and the clients that they serve. So I would honestly tell them the same. It doesn't matter how big or small you are, just do a great job. And if you need to ask for referrals, it doesn't cost you anything to ask for a referral. It doesn't cost that loan officer or that mortgage broker owner or that even that client to send you a referral or leave you a good Google review.
What's the worst they're going to say? No. Okay.
I mean, say no. That's fine. I'll ask everybody else.
Going to happen. They're going to send you more loans. That's, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's what I would tell them is, you don't need to do marketing. You don't need to spend 50, 70 to 80 grand a month in marketing or a year or anything like that. Just do a great job and the business will come in. Now, I say that 3,000 because that's what we spent to this date. But going to Fuse and getting the table and the banners and the flyers and promotional items, I mean, shit, we're giving away poker chips and we're gonna play blackjack at our table. I got playing cards that say Hancock Processing. I got poker chips that say Hancock Processing. I got
so in other words, I'm hitting your table.
Come hit up the table. We're gonna have shot glasses. There was no alcohol in them, unfortunately, but we got a lot of stuff that we're giving away.
What do you say about networking then? Because that sounds like it is marketing, but that sounds more like networking to me. You're going to a conference and you're going to be providing all this stuff and giving all this stuff out. So it's more of a networking aspect. Is that something you think you get a lot of business for? Should more processors be doing that? Should more processors be in BNI? What other networking events do you think are handy for processors?
So the way that I word it to not only loan officers, but also processors on my team is I tell them, look, we do an amazing job for our loan officers and the broker owners and our clients. However, there is times where we need to take a step back and stop being selfless and actually be a little selfish and go out and get more business, especially for our team. So right now, I told my loan officers that I'm not taking any more loans if they're closing anytime past the 10th of September. And then I'll start taking loans again on the 20th. So I'm telling them, hey guys, by you wanting me to grow your business is actually slowing down mine. So I need to take a small break, step back a little and go get more business for my team. So
you're being proactive.
exactly. So
Okay.
let them know ahead of time. I've had it on my email signature for about a month now. I'll be out on these dates. So during that time, I can go out and see how it works of going to an event like this. Now, I went to Fuse last year. It was amazing. It was really cool. Got to meet a lot of people. I had someone come up to me like, "You're Tyler Hancock." I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, you're Facebook." I'm like, "No, I'm not Facebook famous. Get out of here." But it's really cool because I got to see a lot of people that I talk to on the phone only because I'm behind this
Yep.
computer screen and I live in a small town of Camp Verde, Arizona, so getting out there and meeting people just made it that much better and it increased that relationship that much better with everyone. We processed for C2 Financial. They had a
Okay.
VIP room that they invited us to. We got their playing cards, their free drink bar and everything, VIP access, it was really cool, but that is what strengthened our relationship with
I
C2
was just going to say
Financial.
that. Yeah.
But anybody you meet there, it's going to strengthen that relationship when you meet them in person, especially if you've been on the phone with them for 6 months straight. So I
It
think,
puts a
yeah,
name to a
go
face
out
kind of
there.
thing.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
funny, like you said, when you're actually working with somebody as a processor, you're talking to them. I have several loan officers who call me their work wife because you literally talk to them so many times a day that by the time they get home, yep, their wife is there, but I speak to them 8 hours a day. So
Yeah.
you get that connection, you get that workflow, but then you've never met them and you possibly never even seen them in person on a Zoom call. It's just all phone. So when you actually get in front of them, you're like, wow, you're actually a human. You're actually a real person. Like
Yeah.
you have that conversation and you get to meet them a little bit more outside of work. Like you said at the C2
Yeah.
VIP lounge, and you get to be more of yourself because at work, you're a professional, you're doing your due diligence and your job. And when you get outside of the Fuse, it's after hours, you can relax, you can talk to people, and just by talking to people and making them see that you're human,
Yeah.
letting them see that aspect of you drums up business and you don't even realize that. Just
Yeah. No, it really
going to a
does.
networking event, an after hours meeting, just anything in your area to speak to other mortgage brokers or loan officers or host one yourself. If you
Yeah.
have enough of, loan officers in your area, host one yourself. Get
Yeah.
your
We
name
had
out there by
one.
that way.
We had one about 2 weeks ago. We had about 30, 35 loan officers show up. We had half a
Wow.
processing team in there as well.
Okay.
I gave a speech at the end, repeated myself a few times because I had a couple drinks. But
Mhm.
you know what? Had that engagement and relationship building, you can't beat that because
No.
once you're hanging out with someone and you get to know them and you don't, it's not, I'm not saying you have to have a drink with them, but you get out of the work area where you're
Yes.
not staring at your email the whole time and focusing on them instead of the email,
Hmm.
then it's so much better.
And the same
So
thing goes for tone in emails. Like if you're speaking to them through email or text constantly, the tone could be misconstrued. Even though
yeah,
I'm having a conversation with you, everything's flowing great. You put the same exact words in writing in an email, and they're like, "Oh, well, wait a minute." It's
yeah,
could be taken wrong. So by getting in front of them and speaking to them, they get to know who you are a little bit more so
yeah,
that when they read your emails, they know your flow and
yeah,
how to read it more like you than what you think it is.
yeah. I can tell you right now, my emails do not say, "Hey, hope you had a great weekend." Then I start talking. I literally just say, "Hey, I need the FHA mandatory clause signed by all parties. Send it back." And that's how it is. But then
Yep.
you read a text message, and
Yep.
sometimes you take it personal. You're right. I had one with David Kakish at C2 like about a month ago, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's yelling at me." So we finally got on the phone call like a little bit after, and I
Yep.
I started crying after a damn phone call because I'm like, oh my God, he's not mad at me. We're good,
And it
So
does hurt
yeah, it
when
is
you
true.
think someone is pointing fingers at you and you're taking it the wrong way. Your mind goes into this whole spiral and downfall, and you're like, "What did I do? Why did I do it
Yeah,
that way? How did I do it?" And you start thinking of everything you should have done, but you're doing that to yourself because they didn't mean it that way. It was just you reading it that way.
yeah. But
That
you care
happens a
so much
lot.
that the's no other way to look at it because your
Absolutely.
heart and your soul and everything's in it. So
I definitely and it definitely you do need to learn how to have thick skin in this business because I'd go home crying every day.
yeah,
I have
mosquitoes
gone home
break their
crying
beak
every
on me
day.
every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that leads me to my last question, Tyler, is where in the next 5 years do you see processing going? Where do you see the processing world in 5 years?
I see it exactly where it's at. I do not see AI taking over processing. I see it taking
Okay.
it over to where it makes it more automated, but I do not see AI taking over processing. I know a lot of people are saying that, oh, well, it's an
Yeah.
FHA streamline, you know, there's nothing to do on it. Well, then why are you having us process it for you if there's nothing to do? Same thing,
Yeah.
right? So AI is not going to take over processing. Processing will always be there, not only because AI is not going to be proactive and think, okay, I'm going to need X, Y, and Z because the client said this
Exactly.
to me over the phone.
Yep.
You know, a client could be living at home with their wife, but their wife is the only one on the mortgage and she's paying the mortgage and they're not paying anything. So guess what? Basically rent-free letter, but the AI is not going to think like that. They're not going to think
Correct.
proactively in their head. And if they do, great. Computers are smart as hell. I'm not as smart as computer, but I am older than Google. So I know for a fact that it's not going to get
You
taken
just dated
over.
yourself.
I'm 36 years old, right? I'm feeling it every morning. I got gray hairs in the beard right here. But I'm telling you right now that processing will just be more advanced, but processors are not going anywhere.
Amen to that. And I'd like to thank you so much for joining Power of a Processor today. Everybody, this is Tyler Hancock with Hancock Processing. If you need to get caught up in any of the past episodes, please check us out. We are posted on Facebook, Spotify, and YouTube at Innovative Edge Processing. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to email me at gina@innovativeedgeprocessing.com. And with that, I'd like to say thank you guys so much, and you have an amazing day.
Thank you, Gina.
Hey, what's your secret? You got the kind of vibe that leaves me speechless. It could be model multitasking genius. Yeah, you got it all. Hey, what's your story?